Hey family, we're going to be talking today about grades and reporting. Oh, this is a subject that is really near and dear to my heart. So first I'm going to talk about what a grade is and what it's supposed to be. Okay, so a grade is a letter or number assignment that you are giving to your child's work, and that letter or number that you give their work is supposed to represent their level of understanding and mastery of that work. And there's a reason why I say it that way. It's supposed to, but it not always does. There's a lot of reasons why a kid does not score well, right? And there's lots of times where teachers do not grade properly. So our daughter, Amana, when she was in school, she ended up with severe testing anxieties. And so every time she would take a test, she would make like a 20 or a 40 on it. Clearly, she knew the information, but there was something that happened to her when she actually sat down to take the test that created so much anxiety, she could not focus. And so while that number grade is supposed to represent how well your child has learned the material, it won't. It won't always. And that's really a problem with grades. Sometimes, most of the times, our children have been taught to value the grade, the letter or the number grade so much. It is tied to their identity and sense of self so much that they freak themselves out if they're going to get anything less than an A. But what does an A really mean? Like, what does it represent for them to get an A? Did it mean that they mastered the subject? Or did it mean that they just scored well? And a person can have, and we kind of know this as adults now, a person could have done well in school because they test well, because they're book smart, and don't have a lick of common sense. So, who is better suited to complete a task? A person who has the book knowledge or a person who has common sense and experience, right? So, even in life, we're looking at these grades and we're saying these grades mean something. They're significant, they're important. And yet, I can't tell you what I made on a fractions test in the third grade. Can you? Can you tell me what you made on, the third test of the second 9 weeks in eighth grade? No. I don't even know where my high school diploma is right now, y'all. Like, do you? These grades are only valuable within the system of education. So if you choose to give your children grades, you need to be very thoughtful about what those grades represent and how you're giving them and what that means to somebody else. Because a lot of programs, or a lot of schools, let's take colleges. You and I both know that making an A at like the University of Georgia is not going to be the same thing as making an A at Harvard, right? Like some programs are just more rigorous, right? And we know they're rigorous because of the types of students they've produced over time. So your homeschool program, if you're new to homeschooling, you're not going to have a history of producing, this rigorous program. Like you're just not even going to know that because your kids are coming through it for the first time. And so a person who's looking at your homeschool program is not going to know how rigorous it is. Like for all they know, your kids were just like reading comic books all day and they don't have any idea what that grade represents, right? So I don't want for any of us to get so caught up in the grading system that we start impressing upon our children that that's all that matters, because honestly, it does not matter at all. At all. Let me tell you why it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because when your child is learning something, there are lots of different factors that influence how well they will learn it. If they don't learn it, it means that they can't then use that knowledge and build on it to go do something else. So really, we're not concerned about what grade we assign them as much as we should be about their ability to use that knowledge to then go out and do something else. We want them to understand that they are the solution to every problem. Like the solution is inside of them. And it doesn't matter what somebody else records your grade as. It does not matter. It doesn't matter what somebody else assigns you a grade for, because we've had situations where if a teacher doesn't like your child, or they just didn't use the right grading key and you didn't catch them, your child will receive a grade that does not reflect their knowledge at all, right? Or their understanding at all. So we want to make sure we're teaching our children to focus more on the understanding so that it can be used for wisdom, guiding their future behavior, than just getting a grade. When your child first comes out of school, if they're one of those kids who is really big on grades, you're going to have to detox them because they're not going to understand why you don't show them your progress report and why you don't show them your report card. It's because it's not important. My kids had a real difficult time, especially Amana, with not seeing the report card. After a while, they're just like, I don't even know what grade I'm in. I'm just learning. I'm just out here living my best life, and that's okay. The grades are so fickle. If your child is tired or hungry or frustrated, that's going to affect how they test, right? That's going to affect how they understand and regurgitate information. So a grade is really not going to be a good representation of their knowledge. And then in school systems, we have this 100-point scale that we use. And when I was growing up, that scale was broken into equal sections, right? Somebody decided that if you made a 20 or lower, that was an F. But if you made a 21 to like a 40, that was a D. And a D meant you really didn't get it, but we were passing you anyway. Then came a C, and then a B, and then an A. And then someone decided, well, that doesn't really tell us enough about how well a kid learns something. So we're going to make it an A plus and an A and an A minus. And then somebody said, you know what? We're not going to do D's at all. So anything that's less than a 70 is going to be failing. Yeah, anything less than a 70 is failing. And this is how it is in our Savannah Chatham system right now. If a child makes a 69, that's considered not passing, right? At least as of, December 2019, that's true. It could change, but that's true for right now. But you're still scoring the kid on a 100-point scale. So let's say you're scoring the kid and they make a 20. Are you going to move that grade up because, you can't make anything less than a 70? No. So that grade goes in the grade book. It pulls all the grades down. It skews all the grades and pulls them down. So now your child is going to have to do 4 times the work to pull that low grade back up to passing, because anything less than a 70 is failing. So if anything less than a 70 is failing, why are you even giving those grades? It's punitive. It is punitive to give a grade a 0 for something and then go, okay, now pull the grade up. Because we all know that it's going to take 4 100s to pull that grade back up into a passing 70. Who's going to make 4 100s on anything? And depending on how many assignments your teacher actually even allows the kid to do, they might even not even have that opportunity. So the grading system right now is very punitive. When you get to college, they recognize this. And so what they'll do is they'll grade on a curve. You've heard of this before? It's grading on a curve. And what they'll do is they'll take the person who scores the lowest in the class and make that person's grade a 70. And then whatever number of points they had to add to make that grade a 70, now everybody else will get that same number of points added to their score. That's what you call it when you curve the grade. You're trying to keep it on that bell curve so that everybody is distributed evenly. Unfortunately, this is too much work. Oh my gosh, you've got to have a statistics degree just to do some daggone grades? Not in homeschool, you don't. In homeschool, you get to decide what grades mean. You get to decide how you're going to score your child's work and what an A, a B, a C, like you get to decide what that means. So for our house, We go back to the full 100-point scale and we say that, if you make a 0 to a 20, that's actually an F. But what's funny is that 80 to 100 is an A. Think about that. If you're going through the system and you're saying every 20 points is a new letter grade, then they can make an 84 on an assignment and it is still an A. It is, because that's the scale we're using, right? So, I mean, doesn't that make it a whole lot better than this scale that says, well, actually, we're scoring it on 100 points, but only 90 is an A. And okay, so then pretty much anything less than a 50 is failing. Yeah, that's just punitive because all it's going to do is make it much, much harder for that child to pull the score up if you're saying anything less than a 50 or 70 is failing. Like, who does that? What are you doing to these children out here when we do that? Like, and then if you get a teacher that doesn't like you, she can give you whatever grade she wants to on those subjective subjects like language arts. Oh, well, I didn't like your essay, so it's a C. What? Like, guys, understand what I'm saying. Grades are important, and yeah, we use them, but we really need to understand what they really mean. We cannot keep buying into the system of grading our children and expecting that to define them. We have to teach them that grades do not define them. Otherwise, when you get to college and you start making B's and C's, you're going to drop out. You're going to think you're terrible at school, or worse, you're going to be one of those kids who ends up saying, I can't do this anymore, and jumping out your window at college. You know what I mean? Like, because they just cannot accept the fact that they're not good students. Don't set our children up like this. We cannot keep setting them up like this. A grade is just that. It is our attempt to measure your level of understanding, and it does not have any kind of value beyond that. That's it. So be free when it comes to grading your children. I actually started going to a pass-fail system, and a lot of people do pass-fail for kindergartners because they're like, I'm not even going through the trouble of grading these. You can go to a pass-fail system for the entire length of your general education. They either get it or they don't. Who's going to see those grades? It's not like the college is going to ask for the grades from your 10-year-old. Nobody cares. So set yourself up for success and keep your kids from buying into that lie that grades define them. Just go to pass fail. I mean, I have been doing this long enough to know that when whatever it is I value, my children will value. Whatever it is I don't value, they will not value, right? So I do not value grades the way that the system tells me that I need to value grades, and I feel that my kids are better off for it. Because they don't look at a grade and go, oh, I made a C. Like, some kids are just they're just so tightly wound about these grades that it's like you're gonna definitely need therapy someday about that. I'm not trying to pay a therapist, so we're just gonna grade the way we want to grade and keep it moving. Now let's talk about the reports, because you always want to have a report of your grades, right? You want to do the progress report, or really, progress reports are not necessary. Like, just do a report card at the end of the course, right? And when you're doing it, do the report card and do the transcript or whatever it is you're going to be doing. Just do it all at the same time and give your child a grade. There are a lot of things that we do in our home, like especially when I'm teaching them about the dishes and managing the house. It's like, I'm not giving them a written test, but what I will do is, if you have mastered the task consistently and effectively, you get an A. That's what an A means. It means you are consistent in your ability to do the task, and when you do it well. That's an A. If you're not consistent, or you're not doing it so well, that's a B, right? If you are, so if you're, or maybe if you're consistent and not doing it well, or you're doing it well but are not consistent, still a B. if you're not consistent and you're not really doing it well, like it's okay. That's a C. You're average. That's what that means. You're average. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. That's what that means. Now, I reserve a D for the fact that you still need to learn this. That's what a D means in our world. Like you don't have it yet, you need to learn it. And an F just means you did not try. You didn't even try to get this. You don't even understand the skill yet. That's what that means, right? And so when I'm giving my children grades, most of the times they're getting A, B's, or C's because they're either consistent with it or they're not. They understand they're working towards it, but they're just not consistent with it. And then what I do is I'll work on those skills to build consistency and mastery. That's what the grade means. It's not so much as anybody else in the outside world is going to care what a C is for you, because a C to you is not the same as a C to Savannah Chatham. It's not the same as a C in Effingham County, and it's not the same as a C in Bryan County. Like everywhere you go, it's going to mean something different. So we just want to make sure that we're keeping a realistic view of what grades means for our children, and we're reporting them appropriately. As your children get older, the grades are going to carry more significance because in college, they're going to want you to have a certain GPA, right? A grade point average, where an A is 4 points, and an F is 0 points, and then you average them to get your GPA. But it's not that you're going to, but even their college decisions are not solely tied to your grades. You're still going to have to take an ACT or an SAT. You're still going to have to write an essay so that they can see what your writing skills are. You're still going to have to do whatever other, enrollment requirements they ask for. So don't get so caught up in the grades that it causes you to become stressed or creates a source of anxiety for your family. It's not necessary. The grades are not important. This is really important to me because if you don't get anything else from the detox process, you should get to stop caring about these daggone grades. Yes, care about them. They are important, but I don't want you to give them more importance than they are due, right? So for most of us, I was not thinking about my grade point average on the day of my wedding. I was not thinking about what grades I made in college when I was delivering our first child. These grades only serve the purpose, and if your child is not going to college, like they're not on a college track, because right now I have a daughter who's like, yeah, I'm not interested right now. That doesn't mean she will not be interested later on in her life, but she's not interested right now. And I'm not going to force her, because I don't want for her to break down into a mess because I forced her to go to college and she wasn't ready or she didn't want to. That's just not important to me, right? So she doesn't know what she wants to do. So right now it's all life skills. So guess what? Grades really don't matter to me. Yes, I record them and I report them and I put them in her portfolio because one day somebody from the state may care, though I doubt it. But I don't even bother her with grades. I'm constantly saying things like, you haven't mastered that yet. Y'all, she's still working on mastering loading the dishwasher. I haven't mastered it yet. We're inconsistent. We're not consistent. So we're going to just keep working. We're just going to keep working because she's going to be somebody's mom someday. And I need to make sure that she can replace me and be just as good of a mom to her daughter as I am to her. Not perfect, but Lisa version 2.0. She needs to be the upgrade from me. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we focus on when it comes to grades. I want you to have the freedom of knowing that you really don't have to focus on grades like that either. If you want to go pass fail from now until the time they get to high school, go right ahead. It's going to make a difference, when they're doing their standardized testing, which we'll talk about next time, but it's not going to make a difference for anything else. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out and ask, because you don't know what we don't know. We don't know. Right? So just ask if there's something that I didn't cover in this video. I'd love to answer your questions. And chances are, if you have that question, somebody else does too, right? So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure that your journey is filled with knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Until next time.